Hello friends, I am Hebron Peters. Welcome back to my series of 10 Lost Tribes of Israel Part 4. Thank you for your love shown me for my previous videos. If you are new on this channel, then kindly subscribe and click like button, so that you can continue receiving my such informative videos. We discussed in our previous videos, that there were 12 tribes of Israel, out of which 10 tribes are missing. We discussed about the traditions of Japanese Shintos and South Africa and Zimbabwe Lembas, which resembles ancient Israelite traditions. Are Pashtuns, Pathans, a tribe in Pakistan and Afghanistan, among the 10 lost tribes? What do you think? There are some famous figures of these tribes, such as Sharbat Gula, cover page girl of National Geographic magazine, Imran Khan, who is Prime Minister of Pakistan, Malala Yousafzai, an activist and Nobel Peace Prize winner, Zerdan Vali, who is a Hollywood actor. Let's recall from our part 1 video. The lost tribes were Reuben, Simeon, Issachar, Zebulun, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Ephraim, and half of Manasseh. They were lost when the northern kingdom was sacked by Assyrian king Tiglath-Pilneser in 722 BC. According 1 Chronicles 5:26, they were deported to Hala, and Habor, and Hara, and to the river of Gozan, unto this day. The 10 tribes were lost afterwards. Isaiah chapter 11 verse 12, and he shall raise a banner to the nations, and he shall gather the lost of Israel, and the scattered ones of Judah he shall gather from the four corners of the earth. Will the prophecy of the Bible according to Isaiah 11 verse 12 be fulfilled? Sir Alexander Burns, in his travels into Bokhara, which he published in 1835, speaking of the Afghans, said the Afghans call themselves Bani Israel, or the children of Israel, but they reject considering themselves as a Jew. They say that Nebuchadnezzar, after the overthrow of Israel, transplanted them into the towns of Kor near Bamiyan. The Afghans look like Jews, and the younger brother marries the widow of the elder. The Afghans entertain strong prejudices against the Jewish nation. J.B. Fraser, in his book, An Historical and Descriptive Account of Persia and Afghanistan, 1843, says, according to their own tradition they believe themselves to be descendants from the Israel. They preserved the purity of their religion until they met with Islam. Bukhawar Khan, in his most valuable universal history Mirat al-Alam, the Mirror of the World, gives a vivid account of the journeys of the Afghans from the Holy Land to Kor, Ghazni, and Kabul. According to their oral tradition, King Saul had a son called Jeremiah, who had a son called Afghana. Jeremiah died at about the time of King Saul's death, and Afghana was raised by King David and remained in the royal court during King Solomon's reign. According to Islamic traditions, Afghana was a general of the army of King David. About 400 years later, when Israel went into captivity, the Afghana family fled to a land called Gur, which is in central Afghanistan. With the arrival of Islam, the sons of Israel in Gur embraced Islam with 7 representatives of the Afghans. The leader of the sons of Israel was Kish, like the name of Saul's father. Kish's Hebrew name was changed to Arabi Rashid by Prophet Muhammad, and was given the task of spreading Islam among them. Some places sound the same as in Bible, Hala, Habor, and Gozan as in 1 Chronicles 5:26, Gozan River, Ghazni, a city located on Amudariha or Amur River. As per historians, the name Amur River was Gozan Hala. According to oral legend, after sacking of Samaria by Tiglath-Pilneser, the Israelis were deported to Khorasan area, which was once the part of Medes. Herat was capital of Khorasan area. Habor, Peshawar is a capital city of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, a Pashtun province in Pakistan. Pesh means pass, Hawar means city, thus it is pass of Habor city. More places names that traces the Pashtun linkage with ancient Israel. Logar, a province in Afghanistan and a localized form of a famous Jewish family name. Kabul, in Hebrew Kab means dirty and Bul means city, hence a dirty city. Dashta Yahudi, the Jewish Plain, a famous place in Mardin district of Northwest Frontier province of Pakistan. Killa Yahudi, Jewish Fort, a place on Afghanistan-Pakistan border. Bak province, an ancestral area with many ancient ruins and which once boasted a large Jewish population mentioned in several contemporary Arabic historical chronicles. The Afghan Janaza is a collection of thousands of Jewish manuscript fragments found in caves in Afghanistan. Janaza, hideout, is Hebrew word for storeroom or a storage area in a Jewish synagogue or cemetery designated for the temporary storage of worn-out Hebrew language books. The manuscripts include writings in Hebrew, Aramaic, Judeo-Arabic, and Judeo-Persian, which are written in Hebrew letters. Some of them are 1,000 years old. They were found in caves that had been used as hideouts by Taliban. Pashtunwali, Pashtun's law, resembles the Torah. The legal system which is known as Pashtunwali, the law of the Pashto, is very similar to the Torah, which is the holiest Jewish book and the book of ancient Jewish way of life. There are pages and even complete books among the Pashtuns, and they honor greatly what is called Torah el-Sharif, the Torah of Moses, and they rise at the mention of the name of Moses even though it is not important in Islam. The rules are more strict than Sharia of Islam. The main tenets of Pashtunwali include, Mel Masja, hospitality and asylum to all guests seeking help. Badal, justice and revenge, possibly derived from ancient Israelite Mosaic law, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Zan, Zar, and Zamin, defense of women and family, treasure and property or land. Nanawati, humble admission of guilt for a wrong committed, which should result in automatic forgiveness from the wronged party.
Law here is the Islamic Sharia. But we Pathan follow our own specific Pukhtunwali custom. For example, according to Islam, there must be established evidence for the conviction of adultery. You cannot convict anyone without sufficient evidence of fact. But according to Pukhtunwali, if there is even the slightest suspicion of an illegitimate relationship between a man and a woman, both are convicted and killed. The matter is closed, and there is nothing left to discuss.
There are many clans of Pashtuns, but some clans' names sound similar to the clans of lost tribes of Israel. Yusefzai as sons of Joseph, Gadun as Gad, Rabbani as Reuben, Abdalai or Naphtali as Naphtali, Shinwari as Simon, Zamand as Zebulun, Lavani as Levi, Afridi and Afandi as Ephraim, Jadran or Tzadran as Dan. Katak calls themselves sons of Manasseh. The Pathani are quite strict about not shaving their side locks, Piyat, which is in accordance with the Torah command, don't shave the sides of your head, Leviticus 19. Their day of rest is Saturday, and Friday towards evening they light candles, which some then cover with a basket, originally to hide their Jewishness. They wear a four-cornered garment, to which some attach fringes on the corners. Some pray facing Jerusalem, and the Star of David symbol is prevalent in almost every Pathani home. They also wear fringes on their garments called the Katwani cloaks. Marriages in Pashtun only takes place among themselves. They are not allowed to marry out of Pashtuns. Not even with other fellow Muslim, though they themselves are Muslims. Levirate is practice of a wife being wed to a brother-in-law if she is widowed. It is a Torah law and not in Islamic Sharia. Children are considered to be property of the father's family instead of the mother's. Among Pashtun communities, the code Pashtunwali requires a widow to marry her dead husband's brother or cousin. The code also requires that her children be treated as children of the new husband. They even do not intermix with other fellow Muslims communities. They have their own distinct culture, more closer to Israelite prophets and customs. They call themselves Bani Israeli but very antagonistic towards Jews. Small black box known to Jews and rabbis as the Tefillin, phylactery, containing a verse of the Holy Book. This is an ancient custom of Israel. A modified form of this tradition exists among Pashtun, in the form of apparels called taweez. These are small metallic boxes that contain verses of unity and glory of Allah. They tie up around their arms. Interestingly, many of these taweez both in Afghanistan and Pakistan bear the symbol of the Star of David. The Pashtuns, or Pakhtuns, usually pray in mosques. However, there are many old synagogues scattered throughout Afghanistan and Pashtun areas of Pakistan, then India or Hindustan. There is a Pashtun customary tradition of placing stones on the graves of one's loved ones. Even today, one may find ancient Hebrew written stones, Jewish cemetery, scattered in both Pakistan and Afghanistan. There is an Indian Emperor Ashoka edict found in Kandahar proclaims his faith, 10 years after the violent beginning of his reign, and affirms that living beings, human or animal, cannot be killed in his realm. It is written in Greek and Aramaic, reflects that the facts there were people whose language was Aramaic were living there. Arahamic language was one of spoken by ancient Israelis. Language of Jesus was also Arahamic. The physical appearance to Pashtuns does not match with people with the surrounding people natives, that is Punjabis, Bolakas, Sindhis, Indians, Chinese, or Iranians. They are different both externally and in their character traits and traditions from other groups around them, such as the Turks, the Mongols, the Chinese, or the Indo-Aryans, also does not match with the Turks, the Mongols, or the Indo-Aryans. They have prominent noses, fair complexion, sometimes blonde hair and blue or gray eyes. Face cut is like Jews. The Pashtuns circumcise their infant boys on the 8th day, as commanded by the God of Israel to the Hebrews at the mount called Sinai. Keep a sacred day of rest on the 7th day Sabbath. Eat only clean meats like the Jewish kashrut meals. They do not mix meat with milk similar to Jews. Within their religious customs, the Pashtuns have a ritual practice like Passover where they sacrifice an animal and then smear the doorway as a protective shield to avert death and sickness. They will place their sins upon a sheep or a goat, which is then driven into the desert like the ancient rituals of the Hebrews at Yom Kippur. They stone to death blasphemers of God, redistribute the land of their dwelling by lots, and serve the rites of circumcision to young male babies and purification rituals for the females. Their language, Pashto, has a lot of words linguistically very similar to ancient Hebrew. The Pashto or Pakhto language was borrowed from many of the indigenous languages of their surrounding Arab and Persian neighbors. Yet, as a language, the Pashto language remained like Hebrew, a purely spoken dialect with no written records until about the 16th century. Besides the oral tradition related by the elders of the tribe, there are also interesting testimonies of keeping of scrolls of genealogy among the tribes, reaching back to the fathers of the Jewish nation. There is interesting evidence about the preservation among the tribes of family trees on their origin, and on their relationship to the fathers of the Israeli people, call themselves people of Moses. These family trees are well preserved. Some of them are penned in golden lettering on deer skin. These scrolls, now almost extinct from the ravages of decades-long wars. No less interesting and significant are the names of the tribes which bear close resemblance to the tribes of Israel. Pashtuns sway their body while reciting Quran, which is same as Jews shuckle their body while reciting Torah according to Psalms 35:10. All my bones will say, Lord, Lord, who is like you, rescuing the poor from one too strong for him, the poor or the needy from one who robs him. Pathans, or Pashtuns, may be the only people in the world who are probably most closest descendants from the lost tribes of Israel. Finds mention in a number of texts from the 10th century to the present day, written by Jewish, Christian and Muslim scholars alike, both religious as well as secularists. The lowest value of DNA exhibit between the Pashtuns and the Greeks. But high-frequency genetic material are found between Jews and Pashtuns. Research shows a relationship between Pashtun and Jewish DNA of Ashkenazi, Sephardic, and Mizrahi, and also that Pashtun DNA is second closest, 68.1%, to Ashkenazi DNA after Iranian and Iraqi Jews, 67.9%. The presence of specific haplotypes J1b, 4%, and K101b1a, 5%, pointed to a genetic connection of Jewish conglomeration in Kadak tribe. Rare genetic disease shows a common origin. Inclusion body myopathy has been found among Afghans, Pashtuns, Iranian Jews, and Ashkenazis. Another genetic disease common to both Pashtuns and Jews is the disease glucose-6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency. G6PDH is common to Jews from Kurdistan, Iraq, Iran, Yemen, and in Afghans and Pashtuns. This indicates a common founder mutation. This is a disease in which muscular weakness is a rare genetic disorder which is localized to Jewish populations. Pashtuns have no interest in reconnecting with these roots, unlike some other claimed descendants of the lost tribes. Israel and Judaism are not on their agenda. So, this is hopefully all about another finding of 10 lost tribes of Israel in Afghanistan and Pakistan. We will continue the search in different parts of the world. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe, like and share. Also comment about where else the lost tribes can be traced. The search is continued. God bless you.